Hey there! In this video we're going to explore 4 calendar custom visuals for Power BI. And because I already covered the BCI Calendar visual in a previous video, we're going to use the same dataset and explore the differences between the different visuals. So, as always, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's dig in.
Here we are in the Power BI file that we're going to use for this video. It contains all 5 calendar visuals that I could find and that we're going to use during this video. But first, let's have a brief look at our data source. We use an Excel example where we have the date, day of the week, and we have our total capacity, people at the office, non-working days, and utilization. We used this in the previous video to get a saturation table for our calendar. An example I gave during the BCI calendar video was where we could see the utilization of an office space from Monday till Friday, and we also have Saturday and Sunday, which is off days, and we could loop through the different months, see if there's any data here. We have some data in June and July, I remember. So we can see how much saturation we have in our office space. Taking a brief look at the calendar information, so we have our Excel example. It looks like this. We have a date, we have some people in the office, and we have a total capacity. And with that, we can derive a utilization as well. So specifically for this video, I made an additional table called the critical milestones. And the critical milestones contains of a date, a project type, a milestone name, a project name, and an owner. Now, why I needed to have this additional table inside my Power BI report is because our first visual that we're going to cover is the calendar by MAQ software. And it's different from the BCI calendar visual because it doesn't take into account saturation of the days. So the first time that I opened this visual and I started populating it with data, I got this not optimal way of looking at the data through this visual. So what we actually need to do with the MAQ software calendar is we need to take note of events instead of saturation of days. So the events that we're going to cover is actually milestone days. Let me make this one a little bit smaller, and we're going to create a new visual right here that is our MAQ software calendar. Let's make this one a little bit bigger. And for the MAQ software calendar visual, we're going to use the start and end date of our critical milestones. As we know that is just a single day, right? Because milestones don't have a duration. And the event is the name of the milestone that we're going to use. So we have a event that's called a milestone. And the MAQ software has something that's called an event group. Now, for my example, I use the group of the project type to define how the colors are going to be in my calendar. So let's move project type to the event group. And here we go. Now we have project type, commercial, R&D, internal IT, marketing, and we have our milestones. Doesn't that look lovely? And we can even move through the months to see how that looks. We have an event URL. That's an optional item to add. We have cell colors to add more granularity. And we have something called a tooltip. And in the tooltip, I can add things like the owner or the project name. And I can add, once again, the milestone name as well. And when I hover over, I can see with a nice pop-up that we have the update printer drivers. And I see that I didn't need to add the milestone name additionally because that is already on top. We have the update printer drivers for project Y, and Dave is our owner. And if I click on it, nothing happens, but I can assume that the event URL will push us to a different location as well. So this is an excellent way of using the MAQ software. So any project management office would benefit from using this visual when combining it with a milestone tracker. Now there's different modes or different views that you can use here as well. We have our month, our week, our day, and our list views as well. And I really like the list view where it shows you the current month and a list of all the activities that's going to happen. Now MAQ has a couple of things that you can customize inside our format pane. So we're going to take a look at what we can change in the custom visual. So we have our legend, and our legend is aligned to the event category or the event group. So project type is going to be our legend. We can have it on top or on bottom or anywhere else that you can think of you would like to have a legend. We can change the data colors, and looking at the R&D and the marketing events, I really do want to have a lighter color for my events because otherwise it's not that readable, right? So we're going to change this, and now we can see the actual titles of our events, which makes perfect sense. We could also change the event font color, of course, to reference the original color schema, but this looks nice as well. We can change font family as you would expect as well. What we can do specifically for this visual is we can change the views that are available to users of this report. So show week view, if I turn this off, it doesn't show up in our list anymore. So any user looking at the data will only have month, day, and list in here. Now month is a default and you cannot remove that, but you can remove the week, the day, and the list view. For project management, I would say let's remove week and day view and let's keep it on a month and a list view because that is clean data and something that is actionable on a month-by-month basis. So work hours is interesting because we can change the time when we start working and when we end the workday, as well as hiding weekends, opening up Monday, Friday, anything that is a normal workday. If we remove Monday as a workday, it turns gray immediately, which is very nice so that we have a clear overview of when the workday starts. Obviously, this is only interesting if we have our day view on. Let's do that right now. I have my day view and we see that our day starts at 9 a.m. If I change that to 10 a.m., we have hourly options here. We see that the 9 o'clock turns gray as well. So we're going to change that. So we have options to change the work hours as well as work week. So we can hide weekends. Let's turn back to the month overview. What I always like in calendar settings is that I can change the start of a work week. Because I'm in the Netherlands, we start our work week on a Monday. So when I change that, the calendar changes and Saturday and Sunday are in the end. We can show current time. We can enable navigation so that users can move forward in time or backwards in time. So that's this little button here. We can show week numbers, which is a very nice feature. And we can align right to left or left to right. So once again, MAQ delivered a very lovely visual that I'm sure that a lot of project managers will have benefit of. So the MAQ calendar visual, ideal for showcasing milestone dates in a calendar view. So our next visual is the calendar by Tallan, and this is a visual that lets the original dataset shine again. This calendar visual focuses on saturation of calendar cell color. It's a visual that's easy in use because there's a limited set of options. Let me show you that right here. There's only a date option and a values option, people in the office. Can I add additional values here? I could look at total capacity and it will replace the value. So you only have one measure that you can calculate in this visual, which is okay because it does what it needs to do when you're focusing on a single metric to measure. So we have the data in May, June, and July, and because we have that information, it populates the whole page with those 3 months. Now looking at our formatting options, we have something called the calendar configuration, which helps us again look at Monday as the start of our week, and we can change the columns that we use. So by default, it will choose it by itself, but we can state that we want to have, for instance, 2 columns. So the problem with that is that the month date and the days are overlapping, which doesn't make it that pretty to look at. Other things that you can change, you can change the data color. Because it's one value, you only have one default color, which you can change from green to, for instance, let's have it in this brown color, and then the saturation is in that different color. Diverging colors is where you can set a minimum, a center, and a max value, as you would expect, with our max value being 500, because we have 500 people as a max in our organization, and a minimum value is of course 0, and our center is 250. Making these changes doesn't do that much in the visual at the moment, but if we are closer to a max value, we can change it to a color that's more red, and then we have center color could be something of green, and minimum would be white. If I click on the diverging now and I click on, the visual changes to reflect the new values. So here we see that we are closer to max, and here we see that we're closer to the center. And because I didn't change any color here, it turns up black, I think. So we can change that to white to see if and there you go, this looks better. So in here we have the option to saturate based on different colors instead of one default color. So before we head on over to the next visual, let me know if you like any of these 2 custom visuals. Do you think that you're going to use them yourself? Put it in the comments below. And if you liked the video so far, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I regularly upload videos like this on the channel. So let's have a look at the custom calendar by Akvelon. So the Akvelon calendar, at first glance, just like the MAQ Software calendar, doesn't look that exciting. And just like the MAQ Software calendar, looks are deceiving. So what we're seeing here is a clean calendar. We have our months on top, we have our days on the bottom, and we have a light blue color. Now that light blue color is just a single value, which is the total capacity, and I already included utilization in the tooltips, as we can see out here. So the Akvelon calendar looks at date, metrics, and tooltips. And metrics is where the magic happens here, because Akvelon looks at every metric that you add on top of the metrics that are already there. So we have something called people in the office, and if I add that here, I see a nice divider on how many people are at the office. So because I want to have that at the bottom, to actually have it appear as a glass filling up with people, I'll have total capacity on top. Then I have people in the office, And we also have another value, the non-working days. And if I add that to the calendar as well in the metrics, I can see when people are expected to be not working or expecting to be on a vacation, for instance. Now, by default, it doesn't have that clear an understanding of different colors that are useful, but we can change that in our formatting pane. And in here, we can change the metric colors. So we have our total capacity, which is a light color, which makes perfect sense to me. Then we have our people. Let that scream a little bit. And then we have our non-working day. And our non-working day needs to be a totally different color. So let's have that in that yellowish color. And I don't think that blue and green is a good example. So we could also make it very clear, having it as a black value. So that changes our visual into something that is easily readable and gives us a nice overview of the calendar and where our most busy days are, right? So the 2nd of June, we have a saturation or utilization of nearly 80%. The day before, only 8% are at the office. A very clear, very nice little visual that I underestimated at first glance. So a couple of other things that you can do with this visual is we have our calendar, we have our fixed type of start date. This is different from the other visuals where now we have our relative date, where we can state, okay, well, relative to a certain date, relative to our current month, we can have previous months and following months. We can change, of course, Monday as our starting day of the week. We have cell size that we can change. We have border colors, header titles, work weeks, weekdays, normal days. We can all change the default color codes of that. If I have a fixed day, we can set this to a fixed date and we can select the date that this visual starts on. So because we have data from the start of May, I had that start date on the 1st of May. The number of months can change, and we can even say, well, let's only look at the 4 next months. And here we see that we have May till August to look at. Of course, we have the option to open up a legend, and that legend will show the different values that we have. So we have total capacity, people in the office, and non-working day. Very nice to have that in here. The legend name can be changed to, for instance, at the office, and we can turn that on, and it will show right in front of the legend values. Other than other visuals, it doesn't do that in bold. Be aware of that. So onward to our next and last calendar visual, the OKViz Calendar Pro visual. So just like MAQ Software, OKViz creates a lot of custom visuals and is a return company in videos that I cover their great visuals. And as with previous visuals with OKViz, they have a ton of options. And it's quite overwhelming the first time that you look at the options that you have with the OKViz calendar. So here I have 2 examples. And the OKViz is the first visual that both has the option to look at saturation data, left visual, and event data, so the milestone visual. So the OKViz is ideal for you if you're both interested in saturation as events. And with the OKViz calendar, you have an advanced option, an advanced editor. And that advanced editor opens up a pop-up screen that gives you a wide variety of options to change the values that you see in your custom visual. And I'm not going to be able to cover all options for this visual because, quite frankly, there are too many. But one or two things that I do want to cover here is that it is a custom visual that has a payment plan that you would need to be aware of. So that means that just like the previous visuals of OKViz, there will be a watermark or some kind of other visualization that lets you know that you are working on a free version of the calendar. But looking at the data in the formatting your visual, we can see all these options. One of the fun things that I saw was holidays. And if I open that up and I turn that on, what we get is the United States of America has a couple of holidays. So yesterday it was Labor Day in the US. And next month we have Columbus Day. And we have something called Halloween. Oh, we have that in the Netherlands as well. My oldest is going to love that. And we can add a couple of other things here. We can showcase country flags, which is a fun little extra. And I tested this with the Dutch calendar as well, and it is quite accurate. So they have a database that they're continuously updating, and it contains holidays for the different countries that we have on screen here. And Netherlands, it's even in Dutch, Nederland. That's lovely. So we can have our Dutch calendars as well. And here we have Prinsjesdag, which is a Dutch holiday. And we also have non-official day off holidays in here as well. So Father's Day is also showing up here, which might be a little bit overkill, but yes, it does have a nice feature to showcase calendars. And it is the only calendar visual that takes into account different calendar setups. So let me show you that here. We have the calendar setup, and Gregorian is the default, but we also have the option to have fiscal, weekly 445 or 454 or 544 options. So a work week is from Monday till Friday. First day of the week starts on Monday in the Netherlands. And we can have the start year and end year, so we can have our fiscal years in the OKViz custom visual. We have a nice way to navigate between the different months and the different days that we see in our calendar. We can go up one level, or we can go down a level, where we can see our quarters, and we can even go up another level where we're currently looking at the granularity of a month. We can change this. We can state, okay, well, let's show us a year value, which doesn't do the trick for us quite yet. We can auto group, where we can have November, December in here, which makes perfect sense. We have the full screen option. We have a change layout option, which we can say, okay, well, let's have 6 calendars in here. It just does the trick. It's a very extensive, very nice visual, with some nice features such as the holidays, the event appearances, and a ton of other options. Now, I wouldn't have been able to find all options that I've showcased in this video if I didn't take a look at the demo data. For example, for the MAQ software, I wasn't able to do a good review of the visualization if I didn't use the demo data. Let me show you where you can find the demo data of any visual, because this helps me a lot when I'm covering these kinds of videos. Just selecting a random visual, there is an option to download sample data. So if you click on download sample, you get a file, a standalone Power BI file that you can look at. And if the company has done its work delivering a nice demo sample with extensive knowledge on what can be customized in the visual, you'll be able to fully utilize that custom visual as well. So there might be more calendar visualizations that I haven't covered yet, and if this video is a success, I'll cover a follow-up just like I did with the Gantt chart and risk matrix videos that you can view on screen now. So let me know if you like this video by giving it a thumbs up and a subscription, and thanks for watching.